Today we'll have a discussion with Tobias Unger, Chief Operating Officer of SBS. He has over 2 decades of leadership experience in the financial services industry, and he was appointed COO last January to help drive the company's ambitious global growth strategy. Today we have the opportunity to learn more about his journey and gain valuable insights from his leadership expertise, as well as the reflections he shares 1 year into his role. Enchanté. Hi, Tobias.
Hello, Caroline.
So, Tobias, I gave you a brief introduction, but can you share with us your background with your own words in a few sentences?
Sure. You said 20 years of experience, and I'm obviously much older than 20 years, so all the experiences started much earlier. 20 years is in the professional life, of course, but the career, as we use the term, is maybe a bit overused, but I'd like to think of what experiences I had that led me to where I am and who I am today as a person. So I grew up moving around quite a lot, different countries, different places. My father's work led us to move around a lot, so that's kind of an experience for me because I was always adapting to new cultures, new environments, and I would like to think that helped me also later on in my career to quickly grasp and adapt to new situations. And so that's definitely one experience. Then once you start your adult life, as I'm Swiss, I had to go to the military service, which was another great experience for me. Camaraderie, teamwork, discipline, and also doing things that you don't want to do maybe, but you still have to motivate yourself to do them. So it's another experience. Before I started my work career, professional career, and I embarked on a career first as a banker, in investment banking, doing M&A. Worked long hours, very hard. You're a very junior person in a big machine, big organization, but you get the opportunity to do very interesting stuff very quickly. You meet very senior people. You start to understand how to interact with people that are much older, much more senior than you. So again, that's an experience I wouldn't want to miss. And that's kind of up to the age of about 30, 32. And when I turned 32, I took my first management role where I became a deputy CFO of a bank and later the COO of the bank. So, that's kind of a fairly young age to do that. And therefore, I had to really learn how to deal with people that are much more experienced and much older than me, and also be their boss or lead the teams, etc. So that was another interesting experience, I would say. I then later in my career moved from industry to different industries. So I was in banking first. Now I'm obviously in software and banking software, and so the switch from banking to software came naturally because I was in charge of the department internally of IT and operations, and had a good relationship with my suppliers, and then my supplier hired me to lead their business. And so that was also an interesting experience because all of a sudden you work with a completely different people, different set of characters in a different industry, and you have to adjust very quickly to that again. So but last but not least, I would also like to mention negative experiences because of course it's not a straight line. There is ups and downs. I had to restructure businesses, I had to let go people, which is always a tough experience, but it's a learning experience. You grow in those experiences. I've seen a business fail that I was part of, and I had to close some subsidiaries and businesses. So those experiences where not everything is a blue sky scenario and rosy. That's what I learned is you learn a lot of things about yourself, about how things work. You become more aware what can happen if things don't go the right way. So Yeah, over the time, what I would say in summary is you really need to find out as a person what is your motivation, what are your drivers, what you like, what you don't like, where you're good at, where you're not so good at. Coming back to your original question about my career, I would say now at this stage of my career, I'm very self-aware of who I am, what I like, what I don't like, how I do things, and when it's a good environment for me or a bad environment for me. So that's a little bit the most important learning for me during that time.
You have endorsed different C-level roles in your career. You've been CEO a lot of times. How those experiences and the lessons that you've learned from these experiences have shaped who you are today?
When you think about it, all the C-level positions are similar in one aspect. You have a mission, you build a team, you think about what is required for the success of the business, you implement it, and so on. So that element is very similar for every C-level position, no matter whether you're the COO, the CFO, or the Chief Product Officer. And then there is the other element, which is more the content of the job and what you focus on. And the third thing is that people look at you differently when you're the CEO than when you're the COO or the CFO. They expect different things from you because you stand for a function, you stand for an expectation, right? So people expect you to talk about numbers when you're the CFO. They don't expect you to talk about culture or values because maybe that's what they expect from HR. And I learned that this is a big difference in the title that you carry, is how people see you. And I think that's the biggest learning. We all play a role in our professional life. It's not who we are. We're not a CFO by birth or a CEO by birth, right? We are playing a role as part of a business, and that role includes certain responsibilities and certain things and a lot of expectations from everybody else of what they want to hear from you. And so I did learn that, if you're the COO, certain topics it's very hard for you to address because they expect the CEO to do that because they don't want to hear it from me or from the CFO or from the CPO, right? So I think that's probably the biggest learning. And again, I mean, roles change very quickly, as I just experienced, and doesn't change who you are as a person. It just changes maybe what you're asked to focus on and what people expect from you.
Okay, so bouncing back on what you just said, how would you like people to see you? What kind of legacy would you like to give people?
I'm a bit too young for a legacy, maybe, but no. Look, for me, the most important thing is that people think that I made a difference and that I actually fulfilled some of their expectations. And I'm very results oriented, so I like seeing results, the clockwork work in a good way, and so on. So for me, that's the biggest satisfaction, and also to have a good relationship with people around. And as I said, just because you're the C something doesn't mean you're better or different. And at the end of the day, when you're outside of that role, outside of that job, having a beer at the bar, everybody is the same, right? So and I think that's why a lot of respect between the teams, between the people is important to me. A transparent, honest culture, and having an ability to also have a good relationship outside of work. So
we've said that you have 2 decades of leadership experience in the financial services industry, and that is not a small achievement. What specific areas of expertise have you developed throughout your career, and how have they influenced your leadership style today?
Expertise or skills and is again, you can look at it different ways, but I always try to think of it as there is a set of technical skills, of hard skills that you learn and pick up during the time of during your career. And of course I've learned a few of those. Early on, I was doing a lot of financial analysis and modeling and banking and so on. But today, that helps me to understand our clients, our banks, and how they work. But of course, I'm not doing that anymore today, but it helps me understand better. So, over time then I switched industries, as I mentioned. I picked up new skills and so on. But in terms of where I'm at today at this stage in my career and the kind of job I have, the technical skills have become less important, let's say. And there's other skills that I picked up which are much more important. So just a fun fact on the technical skills to finish that. I love Excel. I think it's the best tool, and I've worked since the beginning of my career in Excel, and so that's a skill that I still have and I still use very much, because I like to understand financial details before coming to conclusions. But coming to the next set of experiences and learnings and skills, I think it's more organizational skills and expertise. So having had different roles in different companies and moved around a little bit and have different perspectives on the different jobs there are in different companies, I think I have a very good understanding of how organizations work. I always like to think of it as, maybe because I'm Swiss, as a watch. So I love watches, and it's amazing how many different pieces are in a mechanical watch, and they need to work together. And there is the saying, obviously, it works like clockwork. So I love when that happens at an organization, in a business, when things actually work smoothly, frictionless, and then you kind of feel, okay, I've set it up in the right way. People understand what their role is, and that's kind of a satisfactory moment for me when that happens, and when there's a result coming out of that. And sort of the third element of skills today, which are very important in my job, of course, are more the leadership skills. And leadership is a big word, but what it means at the end of the day for me, or how I look at it, is you need to build teams, you need to lead the teams, you need to make decisions for teams, you need to take into account different perspectives, but explain to everybody how it fits together, and how people need to work together, and show them a good example and so on. I love fixing things, I love improving things, so that's probably why I'm a COO today, and that's a big part of my job is that.
What do you do when there are frictions and when people don't work like clocks?
So I guess the first thing is always to understand what the problem is and why it doesn't work like you intended it to work. And many times you find small details that can easily be fixed. Maybe it's not clear whose responsibility something is, or there is objectives that are working against each other, of two different groups and teams and so on. So many times it's small things like that, and therefore you need an analytical mind to understand that. You obviously need to listen to the people, because they usually tell you what's wrong, rather than you don't need to find out what's wrong. You just ask the people and they tell you what's wrong, and they know how to do it better. And the problem is only when you ask 10 people and you get 10 different answers why something is not working. Then you need to dig a little bit deeper. But a lot of times it's fairly obvious, and you just need to remove those roadblocks. And then there's another set of problems, and that's people. Not the person itself, but the collaboration between people. They don't speak the same language, or they don't understand each other. They have a different background, a different mindset, a different experience, different beliefs, different, again. And how you sort those sort of problems is by, sitting down, discussing in a group, trying to find a solution, and then you almost become like a mediator in that setting, and And very rarely there is situations where you just need to say, okay, stop it, everybody, let me go back, figure it out myself and decide, and then that's it. But that's very, very rare.
What were the turning points that led you to become Chief Operating Officer?
Yeah. So it's funny because, a lot of people ask me similar type of question, and then they expect an answer like, okay, I did this and this and this and this, and I had the goal to get there, and that's how I did it. And as we all know, life doesn't work like that. So for me, it was pure coincidence and bit of luck, a bit of chance. So just to explain, I think I mentioned earlier, I moved from investment banking into a bank and became a deputy CFO of that bank with a view to becoming the CFO later. And after only a year in that job, we encountered an issue, meaning we were trying to replace our core banking system. That project didn't go as planned at all. We had to stop it. And as part of that, the COO of the business who was responsible for that project left. And then the CEO came to me and asked me whether I could take over that project, or the failed project, and basically think about what we need to do better, because we still needed to replace our core banking system, and whether I could lead that. And I said to him, well, two questions. Why you come to me? First of all, I'm on the CFO side and track, so why? That's not really my area of expertise. I've never dealt with IT operations, core banking systems. And the second question was like, well, I'm 32 years old or 33 years old at that time. Are other people going to follow me, and if you put me into that job, isn't it too early? Isn't it a bit? What is everybody else gonna say and look at and so on? And I had a great CEO who said, "Look, I believe in you. You can do it. You've managed many projects in your life, so this is no different. Doesn't matter that you don't understand the detail of the technical side, but you have people for that. That's not where we have an issue. We have an issue on the overall program and the overall strategy, and I trust you can do that." And on the second one, he said, "Look, you have my support, my backing, and other people will be convinced once they see that you make a difference, and it's not about age or experience." And so yeah, it was a tough couple of years after that to do all of this and to convince people and so on. But that's when I became CEO. And as I said, it's pure coincidence. It was never kind of on my plan, but I needed somebody who believed in it. And I think that's another important learning. I mean, you can be very good in what you do. You always need somebody who believes in you and gives you the opportunity to grow and to take the next step. And I was very fortunate to get that at a very early age.
So that was at a very early age of your career, but recently, last January, you've been appointed Chief Operating Officer of SBS. What is your assessment 1 year on?
So yes, I mean, it's been about 1 year since I got involved with SBS, and of course, the first step was clarifying some of the strategy and elements and business model elements, and then building an operating model for the future that supports us on the transformation to SaaS, on transforming the business from a more traditional service and licensed business to a software as a service business, to a more modern way of working together, a more agile organization, etc., etc. So there was quite a lot of preparation going into that last year when we discussed all of these topics and thought about how we want to implement them. And then 1st of January we said, okay, now we start and change stuff. And since then it's been more guiding that change, as I said, this mentoring, coaching element of it, and so on. And are we there yet? No. Will we ever be there? We will be good enough at some stage? Yes, you can never be finished with such an endeavor, and you always need to adjust to what happens out there in the market with the clients, with the strategy and the environment and so on. So I think we are on a good way to achieving the targets we set ourselves. I see a lot of progress in many areas of the business, so I don't want to single out anyone, but I see a lot of progress, and we'll really know whether we succeed once we look at client net promoter scores improving, when we look at financial margins improving, when we look at employee engagement scores improving, and so on. So those are kind of 3 key elements to see where you stand over time.
In the context of the acquisition of SBS by Axway, what are the main changes, the main operational changes to come, and how do you decide which operational changes to focus on first?
Sure. So I think the most important bit to remind everybody of is that we are not integrating the businesses into each other, right? Yes, there was an acquisition, and we are creating a new holding company model with 2 distinct subsidiaries or businesses underneath, and that's important to understand, which means for a lot of people there won't be any changes in the operational day-to-day, because we will not have the integration of the products, for example, or we're not integrating how we actually do our core business. Of course, the first function and one of the important functions that we need to do jointly and combined is everything that has to do with our shareholders, with the public market, with the external world, because for the external world we're now one company, and therefore when we talk about our numbers we need to consolidate them, of course. When we talk about our funding in the market, we need to fund the combined group and so on. So And since SBS came out of Sopra Steria and relied on a lot of Sopra Steria functions and processes to run the business, we need to bring those functions over to the new group, and we need to enable SBS and Axway to be independent of Sopra Steria operationally, and so that's the first priority and the first thing we focus on, because we need this independence to run our own business in the future, and that's how we prioritize that. The second step is then to look at where it makes sense and where it's obvious that it makes sense to work more closely together, and then there's a whole lot of things which will not touch just because it doesn't make sense, or there wouldn't be a benefit. So we don't want to change just because of change is fun, but because we want to change there where we need to change, or we have a benefit of changing.
Okay. What's next for you in this transformation context as a leader?
Yeah, I've been asked to take a new role in the new group, and that's group CFO. So as I mentioned before, I was almost CFO at some stage in my career, and then it changed. Now I was COO, and all of a sudden I'm asked to be CFO. So it's kind of those opportunities, those situations where you get asked to do a job that is required, and I'm excited to take that new responsibility and new role. And as I just explained, there is some functions within finance that need to be together, need to be looked at on a consolidated basis, and we've already started discussing that and putting in place some immediate measures where we need to very quickly grow together. But we've also made it clear to the teams that this year is still a few months, the year end is still a few months away, and we need to focus on supporting the business until the year end in the old structure and in the old way, so that we don't disrupt anything, and we can finish strong. And then we'll have a next phase next year when things grow more together. So yeah, it's an exciting time to be at Axway and SBS, and to contribute to the success of the future company, and to improve and build the company we want to be part of in the future. And that's an exciting time.
Great. So to wrap up this episode of our podcast series, What Leaders Want, could you share your perspective on what a leader truly seeks?
What a leader truly seeks? Well, it's a big question for the end. I think I alluded a little bit to it earlier when I said you as a person need to understand who you are and what you want in life, what you want out of your job, what you want out of private life. And leaders, I see leaders all over the place, but maybe they're not in a leadership position, but they still are leaders to some extent in certain things. So, I've had a great number of different employees over my career, and I was always surprised or really happy to find leaders in non-leadership positions, where I actually saw just naturally they would take charge, they would help people, they would try to improve things, they would challenge the status quo, and so on. And I think that's what the leader really is at the end of the day. It's somebody who's not happy with mediocrity, or who's not happy with just doing something because somebody else said he needs to do it, but actually to find the passion or the purpose within what he does, and to who then uses that passion and purpose and energy that generates to improve things. And I would say that to any employee at any time, unless you like what you do, unless you have passion for what you do, you won't be happy, you won't do a good job, you won't be here. So I'd much rather have people with energy and drive and passion around me than people who don't care. And I think that's the personal leadership topic that everybody needs to have is take charge of their own life, take charge of their own career, and decide what it is that is important for them, and find something where they can be happy and do that. And I've had once a young employee, and she was in a team of 5, and we asked her to be the team leader, and she was 28 or something. And she was a great employee. She was always the best one. She was always the one that stayed, that really delivered the results, the one that thought about how to do stuff and so on. And she said to me, "Look, that's great. I'm honored and so on. And thank you very much for the trust, but I don't want the job." So I said, "Yeah, but why?" It's a career step. It's more money, more responsibility. You can develop and so on and so on. And she said, "Look, I am happy in what I do, and I give everything, as you know and as you see every day. I love the job, but my real passion in life is my dogs, and I'm doing sport with my dogs, and I'm competing in championships with my dog, and that's what I work so that I can do that. And when I'm at work, I'm fully committed to work, but I don't want to do more than that. I don't want to take another job in the business. I want to keep that relationship with my dogs and that passion for my sport alive." And so I said, "You know what? I congratulate you for having figured that out at this age, and please continue to work like you do, and good luck with your dogs." So, that's a really that was for me a really inspiring story.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Tobias, for being with us and sharing your time.
Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure.